Time to
Yes, I have 3 people seating time: Vicki Carson, Rachel Richmond, and Chris Jamolvi.
Thank you.
And they're all in the room.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Jeff Lavine. I have worked for the City of Oakland for over 25 years, and I am here tonight as the Vice President for Oakland for IFPTE Local 21. The loss of redevelopment is devastating to the city, and it will make it more difficult to promote economic development, transit-oriented smart growth, and affordable housing. It is also devastating for our members, who will find themselves unemployed with little more than 24 hours effective notice. People who have devoted years of service to this city will be thrown out without even the decency of 10 days' notice. Having sent out 2,500 layoff notices, the city has given employees the following instructions. If by Friday, February 3rd, you don't receive a notice rescinding your layoff, don't come to work on Monday, February 6th. Assume instead that your employment with the City of Oakland has been terminated. And if your message to your employees is that they are so unimportant that this is how you treat them, don't be surprised when you discover the next day that morale has been shattered and productivity has fallen. At the same time that you are busy adopting a schedule of enforceable obligations to protect projects and assets, you are completely disregarding your enforceable obligations to your employees as set forth in our contracts and the civil service rules. This process has made a mockery of the layoff provisions of our contract by providing insufficient notice, by withholding critical information from the union, and by interfering with our very ability to represent our members fairly. Even a simple list of which positions are being cut and whether they are filled or vacant wasn't provided to the union until yesterday evening, and we still don't have a complete seniority list that would show who is really affected. Despite what the city administrator is telling you, this is not the only option. There is nothing in the law that requires you to lay off people in the fashion you are doing. There is nothing that requires you to redesign the city's organizational structure with no public consultation and no input from the workforce that will be asked to operate in the new environment. You are also being asked to make wholesale changes to the city's organizational structure, and yet even the most basic information has not been made public. Does the new structure ensure a more effective delivery of services? On February 6th, who will be here and who will be gone? How can we tell when you don't even have new organizational charts that outline how the city will be organized? You have alternatives. You do not need to rush into wholesale layoffs. We believe that the administration has seriously underestimated the amount of funds that the city can lawfully claim under the redevelopment legislation. We think the law is clear that your MOUs are themselves enforceable obligations. And if you are unable to process layoffs until after dissolution, you are able to claim funds to pay staff until you meet all the obligations in your MOUs. We also disagree with the assumption that there will be no new property tax revenue to the city this year or next, even though the whole purpose of this legislation is to redistribute the former tax increment to the taxing entities, including the city, who gets 27 cents on the dollar. But even if you don't believe that more funding is available, you still have another alternative. We have never asked you to use reserves to close a structural deficit. In fact, as you all know, we have a record of asking you to put money into the reserves. But doesn't it make sense to draw on a small portion of those reserves to extend the time long enough to give people proper notice, allow the proposed reorganization to be examined more closely, and provide for an orderly transition of responsibilities? If you can use your reserves to cover the costs of using hundreds of police to break up Occupy Oakland, surely you can use a lesser amount to provide a softer landing for the employees who you are rushing to throw out on the street. Jack? In conclusion, I just want to say, this is my business card. And on the back of this business card is the city's mission statement. And what it says is, employees are treated with fairness, dignity, and respect. But we are seeing none of that today, and tonight, those words are not worth the paper they are written on.
I'll continue calling names in addition to the ones that have been called.